It's enough. You've lived your whole life this way. It doesn't matter what they think. When you're fucking 92 and you're sitting there, you're not gonna give a shit about what Punk Man 96 had to say, or even what your aunt had to say, who's miserable because she never got hers, so she's trying to keep you down.
What people say does not matter to me, because whatever you do in life, good or bad, there's always gonna be somebody, you know what I mean? So I don't give a shit.
You talk about performance without a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
So, like, for instance, let's say you have no races. Let's say you have no classes, no nothing. There's no purpose in your life. You know, people need to have purpose to get up. They need purpose to perform. You need to get to a point in your life where there's nothing on the docket. There's no 5K, there's no I'm gonna get into school to be this or that, and still perform to the highest level. Because what people don't get is one day that thing's gonna come up. And if you're not constantly performing without purpose, you're not gonna be ready when the time comes. It's this magical thing, purpose, that we're all looking for. But what's funny about it all is that we need these things to perform. But we don't take a second to realize the purpose is always there. The purpose never leaves us, because the very purpose is you. You are always the purpose. There may be another purpose, like being a SEAL or going to college or whatever, but the main purpose in life is you. So if you wake up in the morning and you don't want to do something, you don't care enough about yourself. And that's what you need to really research is, man, why am I not doing this for myself? Because that is the number one purpose in life, is to better oneself. So that's the only purpose I fucking need. So the reason I get up every day, even though there's no race or there's no school or there's nothing in front of me, is because I have pride in myself.
I read somewhere that the highest human act is to inspire, and we all are in search of inspiration every day. So events like this and just opportunities to be able to either inspire or be inspired, I think, is what creates movements. You know, we all have the capacity to inspire people.
It's been very fun especially talking to young men about this. It's like, well, and that's the other thing too, is I think the world is full of darkness, let's say. And we could say each of us have a little bit of light. And if we release that light, if we let it shine properly, Christ, it's too cliched to go on with in some sense, but the world is a lesser place if you do not reveal from within yourself what you have to reveal. And the fact that the world is a lesser place actually turns out not to be trivial. Like, if you aren't everything you could be, more people will die, more people will suffer, more evil will be unconstrained, more tyranny will reign, more chaos will remain chaotic and dangerous, all of that.
Do you mean this in the sense of like the old proverb of the wings of a butterfly fluttering become a hurricane?
It's something similar to that, but it can even be more local. It's like your family is more messed up than it could be if you were less messed up than you are.
Right.
So if you just got your act together, like 10% more, your family would be 1% better.
Right.
It's like, well, do it.
And that would ripple off into the people that they interact with.
Yes, and ripple, that's the other thing that's so cool, is that, like, people think, well, there's 7 billion of us, and each of us is just this separate dust mote, like floating in the cosmos, and what the hell difference does it make what you do anyways? It's like, that is not how we're connected. It's like, you're the center of a network, and you know way more people than this, but let's say typically, you're gonna know 1,000 people in your life, well enough to have an impact on them, okay? And each of those 1,000 people is gonna know 1,000 people. So you're one step from 1,000,000 and 2 steps from 1,000,000,000. And we are networked, technically. That's how human interactions work. And so when you do something that you shouldn't do, it's worse than you think. And when you do something that you should do, it's better than you think. And so you think, well, this is why I've been telling people, well, clean up your room. It's like, well, your room is actually networked too. It's not that easy to clean up your room, to set it. So you want your room to be set up so that when you walk in there, it tells you to be better than you generally are. It's organized, it's got direction, everything's in its place. You try to do that in a chaotic household. You know, I've watched people do this because I had students do these sorts of things as assignments. I'd say, look, pick a small moral goal, clean up your room, and just write down what happens as a consequence. So maybe these are students in a chaotic household. The whole place is a bloody mess. No one's taking any responsibility for anything. And so they decide they're going to start to clean up their room. And then the people in the household notice. Well, the first thing they do is get pissed off. It's like, who do you think you are? Like, you think you're better than us? Like, why do you think this is worthwhile? Who died and made you God? All of that. So just by trying to organize this little part of their life, they immediately run into the people whose actions they're casting in a dim light by trying to improve themselves to some degree. They might have to have like a thorough war in their household to be allowed to do something as simple as keep the room orderly. They'll find out very rapidly that A, that's way more difficult than it sounds, and B, that the consequences of it are far more far-reaching than people think. So that's quite fun. You know, because maybe part of it is that like everything around you is full of potential. Everything. Maybe more potential than you could ever possibly utilize. And so maybe all you have is this little rat hole of a room in some rundown place in the world. It's like, fix it up. There's more there than you think. See what happens if you fix it up. And you'll fix yourself up simultaneously because you have to get disciplined in order to fix up the room. And then you have a fixed up room and you'll be a more fixed up person. It's like, you think that nothing will happen as a consequence of that? It's like all hell will break loose as a consequence of that.
In life, we have these 5 buckets, right? The first bucket is our knowledge, which is what we know. When we apply what we know, it becomes a skill, right? And these first 2 buckets, your knowledge and your skills, are the only buckets in your life that no professional earthquake can ever unfill. They're also the buckets that overflow to fill these last 3 buckets, which is your network, your resources, and your reputation. When you have knowledge and skills, you'll undoubtedly build a network. That'll lead to resources, and finally, reputation. Life can take away these last 3 buckets, but if you're a young person, the key takeaway here is when you're selecting that job, like I was at 16, 17, 18, 19 years old, don't select for reputation, a nice jobs title. Don't even select for resources, getting paid more. Focus on jobs that will fill these first 2 buckets, which is knowledge and skills.
You want to have more joy and satisfaction at work, you need to engage it differently, even when it sucks. How many of you have had like 3 months of doing suck work? Anybody? Just like the last few months, you're like, God, this sucks. Anybody? Yeah, you should celebrate that. Say, that's me. It's totally okay when you have suck work sometime. How do you engage with it? Because what most people do, they hate it. They hate the struggle. They hate the suck. But if you ever worked with elite army people, they have this great saying, right? Especially the Green Berets, I love that saying. They say you have to embrace the suck. And I was like, ooh, that's good, guys. You gotta embrace the suck. Because you know what? If you avoid it or you hate it, look, anything you pour hate on grows into a monster. Anything you grow hate on. If you hate taking out the garbage, guess what taking out the garbage is to you now? A monster. It's just garbage, but you hate taking out the garbage, so now it becomes a thing to you and your spouse. The garbage became a monster between you and your spouse. Really? It's because someone applied hate on that garbage, right? You apply hate to anything, it grows into a monster. You hate the commute to work, and you gotta do it every day. How does that feel? You hate doing email, and you gotta do it every day. How does that feel? You hate bringing that topic up with your spouse? How does that feel?
Set the fucking example, big dog. You gotta set it. You gotta let them know, bro. You know they fucking up. You know they ain't right. You know they ain't got shit on you. Set the example, big dog. Get the fuck up. Ew!
Yeah. I don't care how good you are in anything. You don't have discipline. You ain't nobody.
Right.
You're nothing without discipline. Because you give up under the slightest struggle without discipline.
100%.
I mean, discipline is doing what you hate to do, but do it like you love it.
Doing what you hate to do, but do it like you love it. That is a great quote.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can do that, you could be successful in anything.
You know, you normally are.
It's easy to give up. You know,
Hell
it's
yeah.
easy. It's the easiest thing in the world to do. I'm done. I ain't going. I ain't gonna keep going.
Yeah,
I don't feel like going to work. I'm done.
Yeah, man.
It's easy. It's very easy. But what's hard is going, yo, yesterday I got nothing from working as hard as I could. Nothing happened from that. I'm gonna do the same thing again today, but I'm gonna try to go harder. That's the hardest thing in the world. To get up every day and give 100% and be in the same position that you were each day, but mentally know that you're trying and trying and trying. That's a real grind.
Otherwise, don't even start. If you're going to try, go all the way. This could mean losing girlfriends, wives, relatives. It could mean not eating for 3 or 4 days. It It can mean freezing at a park bench. They're a test of your endurance, or how much you really want to do it. And you'll do it, despite rejection and the worst odds, and it will be better than anything you can imagine. If you're going to try, go all the way.
Your mind has to be stronger than your feelings. Your mind has to be stronger than your feelings. Think about every poor decision you've made in your life. Gosh. There was more emotion that was involved in it than there was mind. Every single one of them. Think about it. Really was. Your feelings keep you in bed. Your mind tells you, get up.
Okay, y'all ready for a lecture? Talk about the importance of nothing. You get up every day, you're entitled to nothing. Nobody owes you nothing. You could have talent, but if you don't have discipline and you don't execute, you don't focus, what do you get? Nothing. If you're complacent and not paying attention to detail, what does that get you? Nothing. So, nothing is acceptable but your best. So, we need to be, everything is determined by what you do and you trying to be your best so that you can build on positive performance so that, and that's the only thing. There should be nothing else.
And it's also very much worth thinking about with regards to setting up your life in general. It's like, if you concentrate solely on your career, you can get a long way in your career. And I would say that that's a strategy that a minority of men preferentially do. That's all they do. They work like 70, 80 hours a week. They go flat out on their career. They're staking everything on the small probability of exceptional status in a narrow domain. But it's hard on them. They don't have a life. It's very difficult for them to have a family. They don't know how to take any leisure activity. Like, they get very one-dimensional. Now, it may be that unidimensionality is the price you have to pay to be exceptional at one thing, right? Because if you're going to be something like a genius level mathematician and you want to do that or a scientist, say, it's like, you're in your lab all the time, you're working 70 hours a week or 80 hours a week, you're smart, you're dedicated, you're unidimensional, and that's how you get to beat all the other people who are doing that. It's the only way. But the problem is you don't get a life. Now, if you love being a scientist and you have that kind of focus of mind, well, first of all, you're a rare person, and second, you're going to pay for it. But fine, more power to you. But it's a risky business to do that. You sacrifice a lot for it. You know, and I would say most often, if you're speaking about having a healthy life, that isn't what you do. You spread yourself out more. So, you know, you have a family, you have some things that you do outside of work that are meaningful to you and useful. You have a network of friends. Well, those 3 things alone, or 4 things alone, are plenty to keep you well oriented. And then if one of those things collapses, you know, everything doesn't go. Now, the price you pay for that is the more you strive to optimize that balance, the less likely you are to be fantastically successful at any single one of them. But you might have a very, you know, if you consider your life as a whole, that might be a winning strategy. It's like, I want one thing in my life to be 150%, or I want 5 things in my life to be 80%. Well, there's a lot more richness in a life where you have 5 things operating at 80%, but you're not operating at any of them at 150%. So, and I really believe this.
Because as humans, I think naturally we go into situations sometimes and we're selfish. And so we want to see, how can this benefit me? How can I go into the situation and it best benefits me and everybody that I'm connected? Like, how can I get the edge in this situation? Instead of stepping back and understanding that when you're selfish, it's a dangerous thing, because when you're selfish and you go into situations at a certain point in life, we're always going to come up against something that's a lot tougher than us. And if we're always selfish, 9 out of 10 times, if the only thing we think about is just ourselves, when we hit something that's a lot tougher than us, we don't have a driving force to do what we do. And so it's easy for us to surrender, step back and say, man, forget it. I'll throw it away. It's just like I'm married, right? And so I'm young, I'm 6 years in. And so I went to an old couple one time and they were married some crazy years, 60 years, something like that. And I said, right, crazy, insane. But I'm saying, how did you make it last that long? And they said, the reason we made it last this long is because we come from an era when something is broken, we don't throw it away, we fix it. And so as people, the way I approach situations, how can when something is broken, I don't throw it away and I don't let the circumstance or the situation define my life, but I try to figure out how can I fix it, and fixing it may not be my arm working, but fixing it may be me using it every day to be a blessing in somebody else's life.
How do you develop consistency and more discipline in your life? And often with these kind of ideas and questions, I find the focus wrong, and I like to look at it differently from a different angle. So the human brain operates by pleasure and pain. What is pleasurable, we're attracted to, and what is painful, we naturally recoil from. And if things become too painful, we never do them. And if things become pleasurable, we get addicted to them, often with bad consequences. All right? So if the idea of discipline, of consistently doing an action, is only associated with pain, with tedium, being by yourself in a room, doing one thing over and over and over again, you're never going to get over the mountain because it's associated with too much pain, and the brain naturally shrinks from anything that's painful. Okay? So there has to be pleasure involved. Discipline has to have an element of pleasure. Consistently doing your work has to have rewards. Reward is the key word here, right? So if you never feel direct, pleasurable sensation from what discipline is giving you, then it's never going to work. Well, what are the rewards? When you were young, when you were a child, if you learned a sport, or you learned a musical instrument, or you learned chess, you knew that in the beginning, day by day, it was boring as shit, you hated it, wasn't fun. But if you stuck with it, after 3 months, 6 months, wow, I can play this tune. Yeah, I can make a 3-point shot. Yeah, I can win a chess game here. All right? There's a reward. And then you push through and you go further and further and further and further. Okay? If you never had that experience in your childhood, then it's pretty rough. I think most of us have had that in some kind of endeavor. But if you've never experienced a reward from discipline, it's going to be very difficult for you. But you have to know that after the 3 months or the 6 months of sitting in your office and writing every single day over and over and over again, as you try to write a book or a novel or whatever, it's boring as hell. But man, I'm going to reach that moment in 3 months and 4 months. There's going to be a reward, and I'm going to feel it, and I'm going to get addicted. I'm going to get hooked to that. And you get hooked to those rewards to the point where other kinds of immediate pleasures don't have the same effect on you. And you want this again and again and again in your life. The highs that come from actually reaching your goals. So you have to think in the moment of this where you're trying to discipline yourself of what will be the reward, of the visualize it and feel it. I'm going to have this skill at the end. I'm going to have this business that I've started. I'm going to have this sense of pride. I'm going to have this sense that I got where I wanted to. And literally visualize it and imagine it and feel it in your body and know that that's where I'm gonna have that reward at some point. And if it's too much drudgery and tedium, you're never gonna get past that point. So that's sort of my main lesson.
Trust me, you have a mindset right now, just like I have a mindset. It's how we view life. I know people with a negative mindset, which basically they view everything in a negative way. I know people with a positive mindset, which means they view everything in a positive way. People with an abundance mindset, a scarcity mindset. It's a way of thinking. The question is, how did we get there? How did we get that mindset? Through practice and habits. People that have a negative mindset have continually thought negatively. People that have a positive mindset have continually thought positively. You see, the things I do today determines the habits I have tomorrow, which determines the mindset that I have for life. So go back to what you do daily and ask yourself, what kind of a mindset am I developing today?
What do you think is the key to achieving our goals, our success? Some people suggest things like hard work, focus, persistence. But research shows these are all byproducts of something else, something much more powerful that we can all develop.
If you're feeling amotivated, you need to do something and put yourself into a state that's harder than the state you're in. So for instance, if you're sitting around feeling amotivated, or you find yourself tending to tasks that are irrelevant to the goal that you really should be focused on, you need to put your body and mind into a state of discomfort quickly. And the way to do that is to either engage in some tangential activity, meaning an activity not related to your goal that puts your body into a very different state. So here again, I'll default to the obvious one, which is something like cold shower or cold immersion, which not only increases dopamine long-term, or over several hours rather, but for most people is experienced as pain. That pain causes a rebound out of that dopamine trough faster than it would occur if you had just stayed in that amotivated state and waited for it to go away, or done something like cleaning up that for whatever reason felt like it required less friction. When I say friction, I mean limbic friction. Your limbic system is always in this dialogue with your forebrain, and limbic friction goes two ways. Limbic friction can be you're tired and you don't want to do something, and so you have to quote unquote motivate to do it, energize yourself to do it. Or limbic friction can be that you're nervous and scared and anxious to do something, and you have to calm yourself in order to lean forward into action in order to do that thing despite the anxiety.
The hardest part of all of it is being vulnerable enough to admit the abuse, admit the past. Most of us don't want other people to know that, and that's
right.
The hardest part, to open up and be that vulnerable.
Right.
When did that start to bubble to the surface for you and you start to see vulnerability as a strength?
Well, where it started making me, I had to stop giving a fuck about people. That was the biggest thing. I had to stop caring what people thought about me. I realized that everybody's fucked up. That's the one thing I realized. I walked around and I put these people on a fucking pedestal. Everybody was better than me. So I can't tell you anything about me because you're gonna judge me and I'm gonna feel even worse than what I am. What I realized, once I calmed my mind down and sat back and looked at how jacked up this world is, once you realize that you are not alone, everybody that's talking to you about how jacked up you are, only thing they've done better than you is they've hidden their fucked up world better than you have. That's all they've done. So once I realized that, if you want to sit back, like for instance, there's all these things that are on TV, and we have all these news people judging people who fuck up in life. And yeah, they made big mistakes. But that person who is judging you on TV, I guarantee you that news person is saying, I'm glad that my shit didn't come out, but I'm gonna judge the hell out of you. I know that about people. So if you wanna sit back and judge how jacked up I was and how messed up my life was, Merry Christmas, go for it, have a good time. But I'm smiling at you right now, knowing you have a secret that you're not willing to share. It gives you a lot of power when you're able to go on a podcast this big and say, hey, tell me, I'll tell you anything you want to know. I no longer care. And that is a lot of power in that, to be able to put your life on a billboard for the whole world to see and say, judge it, man. Judge it. Like just me talking about it makes me feel good. And that's another thing about it. When you are willing to talk about how jacked up you are, the strength, that big rock that you carry, it just starts to come off you. It just starts to come off. That's why I do it so often. I'm like, hey man, I'll tell you anything you want to know. I'm tired of being afraid. I'm tired of not telling you shit. I'm tired of lying about how good I'm not.